Hi everyone, I'm Anusha.
And I'm Trisha. We are so thrilled for this new Live Golden segment centered around how desensitization can be combated using empathy.
In light of the pandemic, global political turmoil, and other major recent tragedies that teenagers are overexposed to due to social media, desensitization plays a major role in how we as youth interact with our trauma.
Today we'll examine the roots of this pressing issue and discover how we can be more cognizant individuals using empathy in the age of mass media.
I think that the more that people hear about tragedy, the more that's no longer shocking because you've heard so many bad things constantly, and we're seeing more and more of that between COVID happening. We hear about wars happening places, mental health crises going on, and the more that we hear, the more that we just become used to it. We start to habituate to it, and then there becomes this protective element to it where it's almost a survival instinct. To instead of having that same emotional traumatic response every time that we hear something, we start to protect our psyche and start looking at it as a point of almost like a learned helplessness, that I can't change anything, there's nothing that I can do about it, so it's easier just not to care.
We can understand where they're coming from, which makes it a lot easier to relate to our fellow students, which can help us understand each other better, and then in the end create like a more welcoming and positive environment.
Especially at school, everybody comes from different walks of life and everybody has a different situation going on. Just being empathetic towards other people's situations makes you more of like a kind and understanding person.
Having the opportunity to meet different people in different places is really helpful because you get to hear a lot of different perspectives, and that helps you to develop your empathy as well.
Especially in school shootings and people taking their own lives has become desensitized. Students make jokes about both of them, and for people who are struggling with either mental health, it's just hard for people to understand how they feel when things like that are made light of.
I think with the social issues that have come about recently because of the pandemic, and also like Black Lives Matter and Stop Asian Hate, I think one of the big issues between different groups of people working together is that we can't understand what experiences the other groups have had, which really stops us from being productive and making society change for the better.
Ultimately, practicing mindfulness can really be helpful too, so that you focus on the moment rather than starting to globalize. And volunteering is so important for not just the community that you're helping, but for the person volunteering as well. It does let you feel like you're making a difference while you're also hearing and seeing the difference that you're making.
Through our interviews today, we can see how important it is to be mindful of other people's situations and understand that everyone has different experiences through a psychological perspective and also a personal one.
By putting ourselves in others' shoes and hosting open dialogues like these fellow youth, we uphold two core values of the Golden Rule: empathy and civility, which are crucial to building more compassionate relationships, especially with differing backgrounds.
As we navigate large-scale and small-scale issues, remember to be empathetic, supportive, and live golden.